Guys, welcome to the KFO show, Kayak Fishing Obsessed. If you love fishing, specifically love kayak fishing, or if you just love the timbre of my voice, guys, you are in the right place tonight. I have the man, the myth, the legend, Chad Hoover with us tonight. And to be honest with you, we were just talking a second ago. I was like, hey, what are we talking about tonight? He's like, I don't know. This could literally go off the rails real fast because here's the thing. This is an interactive show. So anybody listening in, if you guys got questions, that you've always wanted to ask Chad or myself, you can kind of throw those in there. And I'm totally fine with that. There's been times I've had people on here where I've had 15 questions set up and we've answered absolutely zero of them. But before we get started, I'd like to just highlight the sponsor of the show, usrivermaps.com. Jeff is one of our listeners. He's like, hey, man, I want to support the show. So if you love like hydrology maps, look over my shoulder here for those on your podcast. I know you can't see what I'm pointing to, but these are some of the most detailed hydrological maps around. Check it out. And $35 off for you if that's something you're interested in. Get 35 off is that code. So go check that out. Jeff, thanks for supporting the show. Guys, I'm excited. I got a big announcement for you tonight. Chad's going to help me kind of roll that out. The cat's kind of out of the bag a little bit, but not a problem. Some of you might have heard it on his show and a couple other shows that are going around. But guys, the next couple of weeks are going to be awesome. Got Jeff Malott. I'm not quite sure how to say his name. The Paddler's Playbook told me you're saying it wrong, but I still don't know how to say it. Got Bass Geek, Yak Rods, Fish Anything, Benjamin Nowak, Cast Craze, all's coming up in the weeks ahead. So check that out. But guys, right now, the man with 22 million YouTube views. That's us on YouTube. Chad Hoover. Welcome to the show, brother.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you having me.
22 million?
Yeah, I think I had to delete a bunch of videos. I had 26, but apparently when you hide videos, the views don't show up as part of your public count.
What are you deleting videos for?
Man, I'm going through this program where I'm learning how to like fix my algorithm and all that kind of stuff. And I had some videos that were trashing my algorithm, if that makes sense. Like some,
oh yeah,
I'm divorced now, so I went and took down a bunch of the like over mushy ex-wife videos, and I also took down some like stupid stuff I did early on. But yeah, 22 million is nothing to it's way more. It's about 22.0 million more than I thought I was going to get when I first got on YouTube. So,
was that 11 years ago? Did I see that?
Yeah, 11 years ago. Struggled, like most creators early on. And then because I have a TV show, I thought like YouTube was, hey, let's just take our amazing TV show and just plop it on YouTube and it's going to get millions of views. And then, and we actually talked about this a little bit in the green room before we went live. It's like, every 6 months to a year, what the think tanks are saying you should be doing on YouTube changes. You don't want to do a video over 2 minutes. Those, it's not going to do well. Your video's got to be over 10 minutes or you can't monetize. Guys, you're looking for as much watch time as possible. Anything over, anything under 8 minutes is not going to do well. And by the way, now we want you to do shorts that are less than 30 seconds. Okay, now we're going to extend them to 60 seconds. Like, it's been a crazy ride, but the thing that helped me the most is that when I started deciding YouTube was its own thing and I started treating it as such, I did way better than I did before that. And so I've kind of had 3 phases on YouTube. The first phase was me doing stuff at YouTube. Okay. The second phase was, okay, I get it. It's YouTube. I have to be me. But I had a lot of sponsorship obligations. I had a lot of commitments. I was making a living, had obligations. So I did things that I thought I had to do to make a living. And then I did what you hear a lot of more successful creators say, is that I found my own voice. And I realized I don't have to do what I don't want to do. I can do whatever the heck I want to do, and I can make it work. In fact, that's a lot of what attracted me to your channel in the beginning. Is I was scrolling through, and I'll just be transparent with you guys. One of the things that you do if you want to be successful is YouTube. You actually unsubscribe, or you log into YouTube incognito and you watch videos and you search topics, and you take Google Trends and you take YouTube topics and you try to find, okay, what content is underserved and what content is there an audience for? And is this content I want to create? Some people just look for the audience and look for the topic and they will force it and make it no matter what. So what I've figured out how to do, and I think I've been successful at it, is try to get rid of the over the top sponsorship stuff. I've been able to convince most of my sponsors that I'm better served talking about and reviewing all gear. I am better served pointing out anything that I might think is a problem, because if I can figure it out, so is any, consumer. So
Right.
why act like it doesn't exist?
Right.
And we just like got a little more real. I've never lied or sugarcoated or did any of that. So I don't want to give like that perception. But a lot of times I would be given sales, vernacular, jargon, hype reels, talking points, things like this. Here's the things we want you to talk about. And, everybody can say, oh, I would never do that. When you've got not only bills to pay, but then you hire people and you've got other people's livelihoods at stake, you'll do what you have to do to take care of people. In my opinion, if you have character, because you've committed to those people, hey, I will take care of you. I will pay you your salary. You can count on me. And so, again, I've never really compromised. Not really. I've never compromised my integrity, but I've said some crap I just wish I didn't say. Like, I would never say it that way. Somebody in a marketing room came up with that little tagline. I thought it was stupid when I heard it. I should have just said something, but I didn't. And now I'm out here being a mouthpiece of it. And so I think there was a weird little window there for about 3 years in the middle where I was forced to do a lot of that stuff. One of my favorite products ever, and I'll just give you guys a perfect example where the delivery was something I didn't want to do, but I love the product. I needed to make a living. The Power Pole Micro Anchor, still top 3 or 4 of my favorite products ever. I am a shallow water sight casting junkie. It is a major tool in my arsenal. I also understand that in deep water, if my pole won't reach the bottom, it's also a great way to put the pole down and keep the boat from swinging around when the wind catches you and all your rods and stuff sticking up and makes the boat want to weather vane. So it's a tool for boat management, whether I'm in deep water or shallow water. But when it first came out, it's like I was given this, like, here's the ad copy. Hey guys, I'm Chad Hoover, and one of my favorite products is the new Power Pole Micro Anchor. Not only is it small, swift, but it's also silent, or something like it's swift, silent, and small. And it's like, I was like, it says micro in the anchor. Do I need to say swift, silent, and small? I get it. That's your thing on copy. That makes sense. But it wasn't my voice and it felt weird. So I did these pre-rolls at the beginning of my video. And like every time I watched it, I was like I cringed at my own video. You know what I'm saying?
One of the ones that's deleted now, by the way, probably.
No. Theirs are still out there because again, I love that product, but I just wish I had been more authentic, both with them and with myself. Because when I went to them and said, look, I just don't like saying this. Can I just say it's like my favorite accessory for boat management, this, that, and the other, the Power Pole Micro, shallow water anchor? They're like, yeah. I'm like, it was that easy. And sometimes you get to a point where you've got a better relationship. Sometimes you get to a point where you've got more clout. So you got more flexibility in what you can do. But I truly believe if I had just spoke up sooner and said, this is what I'm comfortable with, this is what I'm not comfortable with, hey, let's do this. One of the things that happened for about 6 years is everybody wanted their video or their commercial in the first 30 seconds of the video.
Oh.
And I hated that crap. And I still do. I've turned down, in the last 2 years, I've turned down over $120,000 in sponsorships who were inflexible on the first 30-second thing, which is funny because there's some companies, like I believe in North Alabama, and it's softly integrated into the beginning of my videos. And I'll do that in the first 30 seconds. but it's also showing you a great place to go as a fisherman. It's not square peg round hole where I'm forcing like milk. It does the body good down your throat, which is some crap that just doesn't even fit my demographic. But you, by and large, when you watch a YouTube video, whether you're watching it on a device or on your phone or on a television, which these days televisions are pretty much just become another device for streaming. You've already watched a commercial or two before you get to the YouTube video. So if we punch them in the face with another commercial, as soon as they get there, like, oh my gosh, and they're off to the next video.
Right.
So I try to do a better job of soft integrating it, providing a value proposition, telling you in the beginning of the video what you're going to get. And if you want to hang around for a better explanation of it, we can do that. But the whole like clickbaity, I'm going to tell you something and put one thing in my title that's only going to be mentioned like one time for 13 seconds in the video just so I can get you to watch the whole thing. I just don't do it. So that served me well. It's over doubled my growth. And so again, when I was doing these searches on how to make my channel better, this dude named Wendell Fishing just keeps popping up. He's got these like very clickable thumbnails and titles. And I'll just be straight with you. Like the first time I was like, who's this clown? I just kind of go past it. But then after it keeps hitting the algorithm, I'm like, okay, let me watch this guy's video. So I watch the videos and I forget exactly what video it was, but like the first video I watched of yours, you said something that I was like, oh, damn. Like, I wish I could say that. And then I thought, wait a minute, I can say whatever I want to say. But I just remember watching your video and going, yeah, I wish I had said that because I thought that 100 times. You know what I mean? I just wish I had said it. And it was one of your videos where you called a particular product like, I have no use for this product. I don't even know why people think this product's cool. And again, I'm not going to crap on that product all over again. But I was like, yeah, I freaking think the same thing. Anyway, and then I went down a rabbit hole of like watching 20, 30 of your videos. And I'm like, okay, so he's got great clickable thumbnails, which is what you're supposed to do, but his stuff is not clickbait. He's giving you what he says he's going to give you in the video. So I fell in love with your content and sent you a DM and you responded to me. And then when the opportunity to do the knucklehead bass fishing thing came down the pipe, I was like, dude, I got to call Darren. So I hit you up and you're like, yeah, I'll give you a shot when I get off work today. And now you're part of the knucklehead bass fishing series and your team is going to come down here and, be standing in the audience clapping when my team hoists the Hero Cup and takes home the trophy. So, but you won't be by yourself. You'll be with the other teams.
Oh my gosh.
So there.
Where are my people at in the comments? Where are they at? Come on, come to my defense here. I don't even feel like I need to spend time here right now. That was the big announcement. It's not super big because you talked about it on like 3 other shows. Fishing with Gramps has talked about it on his own show. People are writing me left and right, but we'll get there in a moment. Here's one of the things, Jet. You were uniquely positioned, and this is one of the things I talked about. So I'm glad it kind of naturally went there. You were uniquely positioned to talk about and something that all of us would desire. It would be really cool to work with companies we absolutely love, already use their products, and to develop a working relationship with them. And you've not only been on all sides. Can you explain that a little bit? And just I like to take a little deep dive on things. I'm curious. I have one sponsor, and it's US River Maps who sponsors the show, and I love it. But I'm really interested in the months. Yeah, there you go. In the months to come. Because I love certain companies a whole lot. And what would you give to someone starting out who, I guess everybody here, some of us have 10 subscribers, and what do we work for? Some of us have more. What's that look like?
I'll start off by talking about something that came up recently that also come up semi-recently that also comes up on a pretty regular basis. Somebody will comment on a video. I get a new product, I'm talking about it, and you'll have, 200 comments. And you'll have that one comment, oh, it must be nice to get free stuff. And my initial response to that is, you obviously don't watch the channel. You have no idea how much work it is to get this free stuff. And so when you get paid at work, you're trading dollars for hours. You're going in, you say, I'm going to be here for 8 hours. You're paying me this rate. And then if I'm here longer than that, you pay me this rate plus some for overtime. And that's our trade-off. So you're getting paid for your time, and people can understand that. They can wrap their head around it. When you do what we do, and when you do what I do, at the level that I do it, and again, I didn't start here. This is 25 years of building myself up.
Mm.
And I'm glad you said the uniquely positioned thing, because I do pride myself on that understanding. And it sounds kind of self-serving when you say I'm uniquely positioned, but I really am, because I've been a pro staff director for companies and built successful pro staffs. I've been a marketing director for companies. I've owned my own companies that have succeeded and failed. I had a retail company called Hook One, was very successful when I owned it, sold it. They took the secret sauce out, which was to engage with your customers and truly understand them and meet them where they are. And they went out of business in 3 years.
Mm.
So that company was very successful with me for me. I sold it because I was sick of retail. I just didn't want to be locked into a shop every day. I was gaining weight. I was literally swelling up like a tick on a hind leg of a hound dog. And I just wasn't out there fishing as much as I wanted to. So I was like, I got into the outdoor industry to be inside all the dang on time.
Mm.
So when the opportunity came along and we had gotten some success and we started getting offers to buy, the first few, I was like, no way. The more that it came in, and you've got this offer on the table, and you're sitting there at 2:00 in the morning going over spreadsheets, and you're placing orders, and you're answering customer emails, and you're burning the candle at both ends for, going on 4 years.
Mm.
All of a sudden those offers become a little bit more entertaining. So it probably sounds like I'm going around my elbow to get to my back pocket right now, but I'm going to bring it all together by saying that when I owned that retail shop, I had a fishing team that helped me. And I was able to see what the people who did that provided a return on investment, what they did. I was able to see the ones that what they didn't do and didn't provide a return on investment. I was able to quickly ascertain the difference between like vanity metrics and the things that convert.
Mm.
I was able to see through garbage, and I was able to start to slowly but surely figure out where I, as a brand, needed to invest to get a better return on investment. And so if you can't spell ROI and you don't understand what ROI is, then you're never going to be successful in a sponsorship relationship. Because I want to clarify the one thing about the must be nice. Two things. First of all, it's super nice. It's super nice to get a text that says, hey, we've got your kayak for delivery, and it's the fourth one you've gotten that week, and they show up to your campsite and drop it off, and then you've got another boat to play with. Mm. It's super nice to get $10,000 worth of fishing rods and reels in a box. It's super nice to get insert product here. But the minute that you open that box, you're now obligated to create a return on investment. Now, I don't create a return on investment by doing, hey, look at me opening a box. And again, okay, I'll back up. I was about to say, and again, I'm not making fun of that. And then I kind of did. So I'll back
up. Let's backpedal a little bit. Start over.
It's not my style.
Right.
So again, for the people that works for, good on them, and good on them for figuring out that works. I can't do that and then be true to what I just told you guys about the first third, the middle third, and the current third. I plan on staying in this current third for the rest of my life. I don't need to evolve again. I'm happy, I'm content, and I like this type of content creation. I like product reviews. I am naturally an engineer. I'm a weird combination of an engineer and an artist. So it's another place where I'm uniquely positioned. I have an aeronautical engineering degree from Embry-Riddle. I spent half of my career in the engineering and mechanical world in aviation in the Navy, but I embrace my marketing side as an artist and a creator more. But I have both sides of the brain like are engaged, And so I'm left-handed, and people say that's right-brained, but like I do everything else right-handed. So I'm like, I am uniquely positioned to kind of see things from the nuts and bolts side and the artsy fartsy side, which usually are like so diametrically opposed, it's hard.
Yeah.
So I can have this idea and say, man, this this creative thing is so good and it's going to motivate people. But then I have to remember, okay, but what's it going to motivate them to do? Is it going to motivate them to click a button? Is it going to motivate them to hit a thumbs up? Is it going to motivate them to leave a comment? And I had this conversation with a company about whitewater kayaking versus fishing kayaks. Hey, we've got these whitewater videos that go viral. We've got this one whitewater kayak video that's got 13 million views. How do we get a fishing video to go viral? And I say, okay, so what's the end result or the end goal of those two videos? Oh, we want to sell more boats. I said, okay, I bet if you interviewed the 13 million people that watched that whitewater video, 12.8 million of them couldn't tell you what brand kayak it was that went over the waterfall.
No, it's not what they watched.
In a fishing kayak video with 1,500 to 3,000 views, you could interview 1,500 to 3,000 people, and 95% of them could tell you not only what model the kayak is, but they could probably name 4 or 5 other products are in there.
Right.
So I'm going to back up and say this. When I owned a rod company called All Pro Rods, I was spread too thin. I had 5 things going on, but I was genuinely interested in learning how rods were made, how to make them better, do all these things, but I didn't have the bandwidth to make it successful. So I thought, oh, I'll supplement it by having this huge pro staff. And I overspent on a pro staff, dang near put myself out of business with the pro staff. And then ultimately, when it really came down to it, it's hard to walk back some of that stuff because now you've got loyalists. And if you pull back on them, not only do they not keep supporting you, but they become a naysayer. And then COVID hit. So it was ultimately like the double kiss of death. And I was done just continuously pumping more and more money into what I felt like was a dying cause. So again, I promise you guys, I am answering Darren's question, but I'm providing the foundation for why I'm uniquely positioned, which he just kind of threw out there for the folks that might not be watching. And so that you understand how I consider myself uniquely positioned to give this advice. Because by being a marketing director, by having both successful and unsuccessful companies, by being a sponsored athlete at every level, entry level, intermediate level, advanced, by having relationships that have been very successful and grew and grew and grew, and then having relationships that have been very successful, and then we outgrew each other, and then there wasn't a fit anymore. And then figuring out how to navigate all that has been very challenging. But I think that I've done about as good a job as anybody could do dealing with. You represented a company for 7 or 8 years. They decided to go in a new direction. They wanted to focus on more, diversity and this and that and the other. And they tell you flat out, hey, after 12, 15 years, we just don't need another like fat redneck white guy. We need more diversity. And you don't fit. And you're like, but I helped build your brand. And you can potentially take that into personally, internalize it, beat yourself up, or you can back up from it and say, okay, it was a business transaction from the beginning. You might have got too personally involved. They obviously weren't personally involved. So now back up, write it all out, and say, how do you move forward? So I've done that with a couple of different relationships. I also respect that people have an opinion, and you have to learn to see the other person's side of an argument. And the really good lawyers out there and the really good debaters out there actually try to be their own competition to prepare themselves for their argument. And so I've learned how to do that. Okay, what is it that makes what they're saying true? Instead of me trying to take it personally and then justify it. And then how do I use that to parlay another relationship or a better relationship? Or how do I double down and say, I'm going to fix that misconception that you have of what my return on investment is? I mean, I'll give you a perfect example. Shimano this year said, hey, we're not moving forward with the sponsorship for next year. You did a great job, but we weren't getting the numbers we were looking for from a listening software standpoint. And I was like, what's listening software
Listening
mean?
software. Yeah,
Well,
right.
we have software that goes out and listens for this and grabs our, names and tags and all this other stuff. And I was like, but we had a game plan last year when we met. You said you're more interested in soft integration, branding, pre-roll videos at this number, and just talk about the rods and reels where you can, when you can, and integrate it into your content authentically.
Right.
Does the listening software grab that? They're like, no. And I was like, okay, then I did what you asked me to do, but you measured me a different way. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use other rods. I'm going to use other reels. I'm going to do what I've done in the kayak world, and I'm going to do some comparison stuff. I'm going to kind of open my horizons up. And if you guys see value in what I do next year, we'll meet at ICAST. And if it makes sense, we'll move forward because I played the game correctly instead of having bad information. But instead of getting all butthurt and going and shopping for another rod sponsor or a real sponsor and, oh, screw Shimano, you just sit down and say, you be a professional. But I'm going to go back to ROI because I really do think that that's the root of the misunderstanding of how sponsorships work. Your job as a pro staffer, whether you're a professional staffer or a promotional staffer, is to provide a return on investment. Companies are not charities. They're in the business to make money. And if you don't believe that their products are good enough to buy yourself, then don't freaking use them.
Right.
Another company that moved in a different direction this year because they were bought by a conglomerate, they completely rebranded. They focused very heavily on the Elite Series pros and the tournament pros and those guys is Yamamoto Fishing. Yamamoto Fishing, I've been with Yamamoto for over 15 years. Gary Yamamoto himself called me and invited me out to his ranch. If you go watch one of my old videos, you'll see me at ranch at Gary Yamamoto's place. He was a fan of my content.
Wow.
Well, Gary sold the company. A new company took it over. It's now part of a brand collective instead of its own brand. New leadership comes in. Kayak fishing isn't as big deal to them. I'm like, I got one video that got 4 million views that sold a massive amount of your product, but it didn't matter because it wasn't in the category that they decided, right? So I didn't play the game according to their rules, or we didn't communicate enough. I'm not going to go out and start bashing Yamamoto products. I'm not going to go out and crap on Yamamoto products. If I believe that I was trading dollars for time to promote them, just like I talked about with a worker, and I truly believe that the effort and energy that I was putting into it, I was providing a greater value than I was getting in return in product, then if I don't have to do that, why would I not buy that product if I believed in it enough to tell you knuckleheads to buy it? So for me, I think that if you can get to that place in your mind where you say to yourself, I believe in this product and I believe in this brand and I'm going to use it. If the sponsorship works out, great. And then if it doesn't, and then I decide to explore other options, I'm going to do that. But I'm never going to go back and crap on the product that I previously used, the brand that I previously endorsed, because I think that's one of the biggest mistakes that professional endorsers make is that you trade on your endorsement. But if people start to realize that your endorsement is only for sale but isn't genuine, then you're not going to move the needle. And so to me, vanity metrics, how many views you get, all those things are great from the standpoint of just creating a foundation. But conversion and how that company benefits from the relationship with you is much more important. If I do a video where I teach how to use something, and you as a consumer or a fan or a follower or whatever you want to call it, watch that video and you get value from it to the point that you say, I'm going to buy that product based on his endorsement. And a video with 1,200 views sells 400 packages of Yamamoto soft plastics. It's better than a 3.8 million view video that might sell 200, right? But to me, the one thing that you can do to stand out in the noise right now in this world, and this is the part that I think everybody's missing, is you can provide value. Okay. And there's three real categories, but I only think we should really focus on two. It's it's information or entertainment. The
Okay.
third one's engagement. The third one's engagement. You have an opportunity to engage, but information and entertainment. So I've tried to create infotainment, right? Information that's also entertaining. And I think you do a good job of that with a lot of the little cutaways and stuff that you do and the little,
I try.
one
I try.
and the things that you do. And so that's why we fit. Is like I think that infotainment is the smartest way to become a valuable asset to a sponsor. Now, I'm going to stop right there for 2 seconds. I'm going to back up to say, remember when I was talking about that first third, the middle third, and the last third of YouTube?
Yeah.
Well, in the last third of YouTube, what I've really learned is that it's not me on this side of the wall and you guys on the other side of the wall. It truly is like a family and like a community. I recognize the people who comment in my comment section. I get to know them. I
Right.
see them at gas stations. I run into them at Bass Pro Shop or Waffle House or whatever. And they're like, hey, man, it's at Gil's Dad 842. I'm like, dude, hey, thanks for that comment on the thing. And they're like, dude, you remember that? Yeah, we remember that because it
Yeah.
means a lot to us that when we sat down and took the time to shoot, produce, edit, deliver, figure out how to convey that message, that you received it. I also love criticism, like true criticism. Hey, your audio's too loud in the beginning of the video. Hey, thanks for that. Hey,
Right.
you rambled for too long. Hey, you interviewed this guy, but you didn't let him talk. I love that type of criticism because
Mm.
I'm also my own worst critic, or I try to be. But when somebody can catch something that I didn't, I love it. And you should too. It's free. It's free improvement opportunity.
Well, trying
Everything
to
you
make you better. That's
Yeah,
why they're telling you.
it's an opportunity to come over the top. If they hated you, they wouldn't take the time to tell you.
Right.
They'd be like, "This guy's a blowhard. He's a clown. I'm just going to let him keep being a clown." Um, but back to the return on investment. I'm going to give you a. I'm going to tell you right now that there's two formulas that you should know: CPM, or cost per million. If you understand how to calculate a cost per million, and then knowing how to do a value stream analysis. In other words, figure out what you're worth. Okay. I get this all the time. Hey, man, I've been trying to get sponsored now for about 6 years, man. Dude, it's just tough. And I'm like, okay, well, how many times have you been told no? What do you mean? How many times have you been told no? Dude, pretty much every time I've ever reached out for a sponsorship, I said, okay, what did you ask for? Oh, I mean, I just told them I really love their product and I'd be interested in a relationship. Okay, what did you ask for? Nothing. I'm like, well, then you got what you asked for.
Yeah. I mean, as a
Real simple.
professional fundraiser,
Yeah.
if you don't ask for usually a specific number, you simply don't get it.
Really simple
So I get it.
thing that I want you to put into your sponsorship approach. Know what you're worth. Know the value that you can bring. Figure out how to calculate CPM, and then what that CPM is worth to that company, what CPM they're worth paying, so that they can get that from you without going out and bidding for it in the world of paying for an ad to be on all of social media or all of YouTube. And if you can if you can underneath that and undercut that, you're a better value proposition, plus your real and genuine content. And if you can create the content and you can hit a better CPM than they can get by creating the content, paying somebody to create the content, and paying that CPM, then you are a valuable asset. But the first hurdle to get over is knowing what you're worth. Okay. And the first thing that you have to understand is it's way harder for the person on the receiving end to tell you what they think you're worth than it is for you to tell them what you think they're worth. If you are insulted by what they tell you. You should be insulted by the fact that you didn't give them something better to offer.
Okay.
So I'm going to say that one more time. If you are ever insulted by the offer a company makes you, stop for a second and flip that disgust around onto yourself and say, but I didn't ask for anything. And since I didn't ask for anything, I deserve what they offered me. 90% are going to default to, hey, let me give you a discount. You are now not a sponsored angler. You're a customer. They're selling it to you for the same price they sell it to a dealer for. Sounds good in theory. It's probably the best worst thing that's happened to this industry in the way that you can buy your way on the fishing teams. They'll immediately put you on a pro staff if you're buying product for 50% off, because then they know you're going to be wearing the pro team shirt and putting their name in the description box of sponsored by and all this other stuff.
The deal.
If they're not giving you product, if they're not cutting you a check or a combination of the two, or if they're not spending their time, effort, and energy to promote you, then you're not sponsored. You are a customer. You're just in a different category. You're in the direct-to-consumer category. You're just buying from them at a discount, just like Black Friday or just like Cyber Monday or whatever. It's just that they've put it under the guise of it's just like you watch those infomercials in the middle of the night, and they're like, but wait, there's more. Buy your second one right now for only $9 more. Just pay separate shipping, handling, or whatever. Like, it's the same concept.
Right.
It's just that companies have done a really good job of painting that picture as like, hey, I know that there's a real desire for these guys to have a logo on their jersey, to have a sticker on their boat, to have a name in their cadre of names that makes up their bio. And I get it. And everybody has to start somewhere. So start with those pro deals, but understand them for what they are. They're promotional deals, but provide value. I'm going to give you 2 easy ways to provide value. 2, if you can't get a sponsorship with these 2 things, stick with your day job, stick with doing what you're doing, and continue to be the person that comments on other people's stuff saying it must be nice. The first one is send them usable content, unsolicited, and with regularity. Okay. DM them. Hey, here's a couple of photos from my last shoot. Hey, here's a couple of photos from the last time I was fishing. Hey, here's a couple short videos from the last time I was fishing. Eventually what happens is they're going to use those. And then once they use those, they're going to go, dang, Darren was a great opportunity. It was a great resource. Now, here's where you know when it's time for the hook. Okay. So you're throwing it out there. This is like casting and fishing. You're throwing it out there. Hey, here's some content. Here's some content. Here's some content. Eventually what will happen is they'll use your content, and it'll be a Tuesday afternoon, and their boss is saying, hey, we really need to get a post out this week. And they'll remember that Darren guy's DM'd me 30 photos. They'll scroll through. Oh, shoot, there's a perfect photo. Boom. Tag at Darren. You comment on it. Then you comment on the other people's comments in that post. Now you've engaged. Now somebody asks you a question in their post on their page, and they just said, I view you, Chad Hoover, as a subject matter expert on this product. And I ask you the question they wouldn't answer. You are now sponsorable. Now you can say, hey, and here's there's 2 things. First one, offer content for free. Okay. It's just like the old crack on the playground thing. The drug dealer goes to the playground and gives the crack away from free till he gets them hooked on crack, and then he starts charging them for it. Same concept. These are universal truths in life. But just canvas the brands that you believe in, the products that you already use, by just peppering out some content. It's like those old movies where the guy was throwing the pebble at the window of the girl. She finally comes outside and he gets her attention. But the second one, and this is like probably not as true as it used to be, but it's how I got to where I'm at. And I know tons of people that have gotten there. COVID kind of put a damper on it. But say, hey, if you guys ever need any help with trade shows, let me know. hey, if you ever need to show somebody to work a booth at a trade show, let me know. Now, I'm going to answer. This is information overload for a lot of people. So the number one thing is give them content. The number two thing is offer to work for them, again, for free. Hey, I'll come to the trade show. I'll do this. I'll do that. If you got anything near me, and go do the show. Before I ever got my first sponsorship, I worked 400. I remember the number 419 trade. I'd been keeping up with it. And what was
419?
419. But remember, back in the day, trade. I used to work a lot of shows. I could live in Virginia Beach and go to Baltimore, Canton Airs, Maryland, Greensboro, North Carolina, Chesapeake. I could go over to Richmond and work a show. Like I could be, all over the place. And if you think about it, over a 10-year period, if you work 20 shows a year, that's 200 shows. Jeez. You get into that 30, 35 shows a year in 10 years, you're pushing 300 shows. And I was just obsessed with the business part of fishing. What was crazy cool, though, is that I learned that fishing is a very incestuous business. And incestuous means like, having sex with your kinfolk, inbred, you know what I'm saying? And I'm just breaking it down for our audience here, Darren. But the fishing industry is like that. It's like musical chairs. So what I ended up having happen was I had been doing these trade shows. You get a break from the booth and you go walk around and these people see you. Mm-hmm. Then they see you again. Then they see you again. Then when they walk around, they see you representing another company. And then they go, oh, well, he's representing a company. That company has vested in him. We could do the same.
Right.
Then that guy ends up being, okay, he was the marketing assistant at this company. Now he moves over to be the marketing director at another company in this merry-go-round. So he's thinking, man, I need to make my mark on this new company. Who do I know? I remember that Chad dude from all the trade shows that did all the seminars. Yo, Chad, hey, I'm with this company now, man. Don't you use their stuff? I remember seeing them in your photos that you sent us. Yes, I do. Dude, let me know what we can do. Hey, when's your next trade show? Let me know, and I'll come work there. So I got paid per diem, and I worked these trade shows while simultaneously letting them promote me to the industry.
Right.
So that's kind of the way that you figure it out is you understand what they're looking for, how to get it to them, give them a value first to where they come to the point where they almost depend on you. They start asking you for content, be a subject matter expert on their product, because if you're a subject matter expert on their product, you probably know more about their product than they do, because these people in these companies are changing, every 18 months to 2.5 years. And you become a resource. You become a respected representative. People come to you for information. So now you're a valuable asset to them. And you have to ask for what you want. And it's real simple. Hey, listen, guys, I've been loving the relationship. I love getting the discount because a dollar saved is a dollar made. But I'd like to take my game to the next level. I'd love to fish 3 or 4 tournaments this year. And I know tournaments may not get you the best possible return on investment, but they get me in front of other anglers and they help me help you. They help me build my credibility. So could you cover 3 entry fees this year? And if you could, then I'll offer you, primary placement on my jersey, or I'll give you the logo, this spot on my kayak, or I'll tag you in all my social posts leading up to the event, during the event, and after the event. Or I'm open to what you might see as the most valuable content that I could create for you while doing these tournaments. So you gave them an option, and you also gave them an offer to come back to you with what they would really need if they happen to need something, right? So you're opening that door for a dialogue. Again, you asked for something, but you also said, but if this isn't what you're looking for, let me know what you're looking for. Maybe we can work something out. So you've got that dialogue going. You've got that relationship. And, I've read probably, oh my God, man, thousands. I would be scared to guess how many like pro staff resumes and fishing resumes and all that I've read. So I'll give you 2 pieces of advice on that. I've done several $1 million in sponsorships over the last 12 years, both for my fishing television show, my YouTube channel, and personally, and for kayak bass fishing as an organization. And that's not bragging, and that's not crazy. That's just saying I've figured out how to provide this return on investment, work with really, big companies, small companies, medium companies, help companies get off the ground, those kind of things. And I've never had a fishing resume. I've never had one. People have asked me for a fishing resume. The fishing bio that I have that's out on most of my web pages and stuff,
right,
doesn't list the fact that I'm in the Outdoor Hall of Fame, doesn't list the fact that I won the American Trailblazer Award and all these other things in the last 4 or 5 years. I haven't updated that bio in 12 years because here's what I believe. My bio, my calling card, my resume is what I'm doing. It's what I'm putting out. It's what I'm creating. And this industry's got a very short memory. So if you list a bunch of old accolades, you potentially date yourself with those accolades.
Okay.
I don't put a lot of stock. I don't put a lot of stock into a resume. You've got 90 seconds to get that person's attention. Your resume or your bio should be at the bottom. What you plan to do, what you're offering them, and what you're asking for should be the first 3 things in it. And then the last thing should be about you. And if you can't read the whole thing in 90 seconds, start cutting stuff out until you can. Because when people open up a resume and it's a solid 40 lines with no white space, they're going to go, I'll come back to this later. And then they never do.
Right.
So 2 tips on resumes. 1, don't waste your time until you get to the point where they ask you for one. 2, put your information last. What you love about their product, how you think you can help them, what you're asking for, and then your personal information. Keep your personal information the shortest section. I don't give a flying flip, and most companies don't. Yeah, my name's Billy John Brubaker. I started fishing when I was 9 years old. By the time I was 17, everybody in my area knew I was the baddest fisherman around. Daddy took me fishing for 14 years, and out of that 14 years, I caught the biggest fish about 85% of the time. After graduating high school, I moved on to fishing for, they don't care. Their brain has already shut off. If you're asking for a sponsorship, the fact that you're a good angler is a given.
Yeah, table stakes.
It's the baseline. It's what's on top of that. What can you do with that ability? Gerald Swindell has been an Angler of the Year a couple times. Dude's never won a real major event, but he gets the camera on him because he's entertaining. He's got personality. He grows his social platform. Mike Iaconelli finally won a Bassmasters Classic. He finally won some of these other things, but for years he was the most recognized angler in the sport because he was a personality, because he brought energy to the table and he got the camera on him.
Right.
And it didn't matter. And a lot of people watched him to watch him not win. I hope that little loudmouth jersey's on my rah, 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 rah. So figure out what your thing is to get your fan base, their consumer base, the customer base, bring them together. But provide value. Provide something that somebody says at the end of watching a 3-minute video, well, I'll never get that 3 minutes of my life back. Make them say, dang, they're looking to take advantage of the information that you provided them. Or they got a smile on their face, or they're laughing, or they're like, man, that dude, I can't wait to see what he says in the next video. So those are the things that are kind of the intangibles. But the tangibles are provide return on investment. Be willing to give before you get. Ask for something, or if you don't get it, realize you got what you asked for. Figure out how to provide a clarification of what your value is. Learn how to calculate CPM and what they're willing to pay for it. And then from there, connect with a community, build a position in that community. Whether you're the general, a lieutenant, somewhere in the middle, a contributing member, a person in the audience that's just a heckler, whatever you are, figure out what you're comfortable with and what level you're willing to be at and double down on that. And last but not least, and I can get into this in a more in-depth pro staff deal, and so I don't want to dominate the whole thing about sponsorship because I'm sure there's some other stuff you want to talk about, but there's a thing called a pivot brand. This is some high level, in my opinion. This is way above your basic sponsorship stuff. But get one sponsor before you try to get two, and get two before you try to get three, and keep those happy before you try to build out like this laundry list of all your people so you can fill your whole jersey up. You'd better off having one jersey with one logo on the front, the back, the sleeves, their name across your belly, and you just take really good care of them. Here's what a pivot brand is. Find one good brand that's going to promote you as much as you promote them. And when that happens, the other brands in the industry are going to see that and go, well, if we were promoting and sponsoring Chad, we would get benefit when Columbia Sportswear promotes him.
Right.
And then if so my original pivot brand was Columbia Sportswear. Ultimately, they went in a direction of spending millions on Bubba Wallace and NASCAR and a couple of other things. And I had been with them for a long time. I could have been butthurt and said, oh, this is BS. I got a tattoo of their logo, but I had 12 really good years. I love Realtree fishing. It freed me up to do more Realtree stuff instead of just Columbia Realtree. I can wear my own merchandise now. So when that relationship come to an end, I could have cried in my Wheaties. I could have, had a big sob story, but I realized I used that relationship for what it was worth, just like they did with me. They started paying for me to travel around the country and do appearances at Cabela's and Bass Pro Shops and all those other things. And that turned into other relationships. So find a gold star brand. And I'm not saying kiss their butt or hump their leg or do all this other stuff, but find that one good brand that you firmly believe in, build a relationship with them, and use that as your pivot brand to get other brands to be interested in you.
Guys, this is like the masterclass TED Talks on sponsorships. And so, I mean, I've been watching the numbers, Chad, like it's staying at 50. Those who've been on have not left for almost the past hour. Great stuff, great truth here. And so I'm just going to say thank you. It gives me a little direction here. I'll read some of this. Wild Fowler to help me decide how I want to do things when I fire up the channel this summer. Southern Flow, 100%. So love it. So Chad, thank you so much. I want to, there's some past things here that we kind of, Colson, love your content, but it's a fact that Chad will win. Colson, I can put people in like timeout, right? On my little streaming software here. So he's going to be in timeout for the next 10 minutes. None of that garbage. Let me see here. He's supposed to watch my show as long as I fish with a Senko and an orange spinning rod, which is like all my videos. You better watch out when I bring the Senko down to Gunnersville. I'm going to bring the pain. Oh yeah. Fishing with Gramps. Chad obviously hasn't watched my new channel trailer. Chad, have you seen my channel trailer?
Yeah.
I'm surprised I didn't get anything. Gramps reached out to me.
Yeah.
All right. Well, speaking of the channel trainer, it references. Go check it out. It's only like 2 minutes long. It references what I want to talk about next, which is the Knucklehead bass fishing, the big announcement. Chad, unwrap for us this whole thing that's starting off. It starts at different times depending on what team you want to be on, but yours specifically starts in like 13 days or so.
No. I announced it on my channel, and my Yankee fans and friends lost their mind on me. My phone blew up. Dude, what are you talking about? February, and it ends in May. So both myself and Gene made an audible, and we moved to March. So we're gonna kick ours off March 1st.
All right.
And then we're gonna go March, April, May, June instead of February. Because honestly, half of my fan base responded and was like, dude, I got hard water until freaking, so.
I tried to go yesterday. It was ice.
We're still putting ourselves at a disadvantage because, again, a lot of people still have hard water in March and some even in April. But I firmly believe that, the Chad Hoover fishing knuckleheads, because we're all knuckleheads in this thing. Everybody that's fishing this thing is going to be a knucklehead, right? It's the Knucklehead Bass Fishing Series. And for you, those of you guys that don't know, that was a community naming itself while naming me, and we named each other. It became a term of endearment. It is what it is. We ended up launching like an apparel brand behind it just to kind of do what you're supposed to do on YouTube, which is to do the merch thing. But it was more of a like, people were like, make a knucklehead shirt. And if you're going to make a knucklehead shirt, you got to brand it. So we spelled it wrong and come up with a clever font that like looks like knucklehead. And we wanted to say that you are the most important thing in the Knucklehead Nation. So we put the U in there with an underline in it. So it's got a lot of symbology. But what started happening is I constantly talk about these big tournaments and these big payouts and all this KBF stuff. And there's now like multiple organizations serving that category. There's Hobie with the BOS. There's Bass Nation with the Bass Nation Kayak Series. There's other ones out there like the All-American Kayak Series, that Joshua Booth runs. And then other ones that are just getting really good. The West Coast is coming together. Tennessee does a good job with Cast. So there's all these other places where there's just really good organization. And, now I don't have to focus on trying to be that, that big thing. But I think that a lot of us have neglected the entry level, the fun, the smack talking, but also the lower barrier to entry to get in for an opportunity at something bigger. And so I'll explain it to the folks that are watching, just like I explained it to you. Most of us have a hard time in the fishing category getting sponsorships. Most people don't realize if we do Patreon or if we do super likes or if we do these other things on these platforms, that they get a significant chunk of it. And so what I wanted to do is I wanted to create a way for the content creators to monetize their efforts, to be less sponsor dependent, to then be able to free themselves up to create better content so that we could raise the whole bar for content creation and fishing, so that as all of us got better in making fishing YouTube content, we didn't have to turn around and start making Storage Wars videos. And I bought an Amazon box to be successful, that we can just stay true to just fishing. Right. And so, with my personality and my sense of humor and the way that I could probably do really well doing those kinds of videos. I like fishing and I like fishing videos and I like sharing that crap, right? That's what and I like camping and cooking and hunting and redneckery. So my son Austin and I are going to launch a separate channel where we can share that stuff. But man, I just like outdoors. I like this kind of stuff. And so the idea was originally born when Gene Jensen went out and got sick of all the naysayers saying YouTubers can't fish. So he's like, I'm going to jump on the kayak bass fishing trail and I'm going to show that my principles and my philosophies for fishing that I teach you are real. Dude went out there and placed really high in a bunch of events, won a couple of events, won an event and got DQ'd from an event, bounced back and then won another event just to redeem himself. And he got DQ'd, but just because he was trying to take an advantage and misinterpreted a rule, nothing like on purpose or anything. But again, doubled down and went back out and won another event, goes to the national championship and positions himself to second in the Angler of the Year standings. Wow. And he only finished second to the number one guy in kayak fishing competition history, the only person to ever win 3 kayak bass fishing Anglers of the Year, Cody Milton. And Cody also won the kayak bass fishing Angler of the Year and the Hobie BOS Angler of the Year this year, which is insanity, right?
Right.
And Gene finished second to that guy. So when we were talking in the offseason, Gene was like, man, I really like the competition thing. I don't like being gone as much as I was. I don't like how it interfered with my ability to create content, but I did want to go out there and show that YouTubers can fish. That this content that we're creating a lot of times, just because we don't go out and catch 20 fish to illustrate the topic, we know what we're talking about. And I was like, dude, what if we had just a YouTuber versus YouTuber series, but not like a 1v1, which has been done to death, not like a this person versus this person. And a lot of times it's cheesed up and staged and edited to where it's back, but like a true, let's have YouTubers versus each other. And that started out as like, let's do a call out series where we all call each other out. We all come together and we just fish. But I was like, what if we engaged the fans and engaged our brands better? And so we come up with a very low barrier to entry, like a $15 entry fee. Of that, you as the creator get to decide how much of that money you put back into the payout, how much money you put back into buying prizes to put the better carrot on the stick to engage your fans. I've come up with the 25, 50, 25 rule. I'm putting 25 aside for operational cost. I'm putting 50% in buying prizes and putting them back into my series to get more people interested. And then I'm donating 25% to charity. Now, I am in a unique position. I'm very blessed in the place I am with my sponsorships and relationships that I have and the things that I can do. What I can do may not be what, Darren with Wendell Fishing can do, or what John, with Creek Fishing can do, or what Alex Rudd can do, or what Gramps can do. But the idea is that collectively we can engage our fan bases, engage our communities, create an opportunity to raise money and awareness for awesome charities that we all believe in, but at the same time have a cool competition at the end where we all come together, and it's Team Wendell versus Team Fluke Master versus Team Chad versus Team Rudd versus Team Creek. I've got Clay Guida from the UFC involved now. I've got a couple of other big influencers that have shown immediate interest because of the fact that it's for veterans, suicide prevention on my side, and Alex Rudd is doing a pediatric charity. And everybody just needs to do the charity part for what is on their heart, right? What's on their, but we're using the platform for good. We're engaging our communities, and we're giving everybody an opportunity to win their way onto our team. So basically, I'll give everybody the format in a nutshell. For 4 months, the winner of each month wins their way onto the team for the person whose challenge they fish in. Those 4 people and the team member come down to Huntsville, Alabama. We're going to fish Lake Gunnersville and Lake Wheeler. And we're going to have a one-day slobber knocker shootout. Who can catch the best 5 fish? Each member of the team has to catch a fish. So the 4 people that win, each one of them's got to catch a fish, and the YouTuber or the influencer has to catch a fish. Best 5 fish takes home the Hero Cup, which is what I'm calling it because it's primarily focused on veteran suicide awareness and raising money for scholarships and things like that. And so, but the twist is we make money along the way with our sponsors, with the entry fees. We invest back into it. But I've put up a $10,000 guarantee as kayak bass fishing. And so if Team Wendell goes down and wins this event, the 4 people on Team Wendell, okay, if Team Wendell should be so fortunate that every other team out there would stumble, and then they drunkenly swerved into the wind.
Fish jumping in our kayaks. Yeah, okay, I got it.
Team Wendell anglers, those 4 anglers, would win the $10,000 split up amongst them. Each of them would win $2,500. Now, as more participation happens and as more interest happens, my goal is to continuously ratchet that number up or build out like a 2nd place and a 3rd place, because right now we can't announce all of them, but we got 12 teams. We got 7 committed, right? We got the aggressively average guys. We got Wendell. We got Gramps. We got Clay Guida. Got Gene Jensen. We got Alex Rudd. We got John with Creek Fishing. And then I've got 3 more that have to get clearance
hip pockets
before they can do the Veterans Day weekend commitment. But if we can announce those, in the next 2 or 3 weeks, this thing's just going to be crazy. And Clay Guida is going to call out a couple of other UFC fighters, and then hopefully those UFC fighters will call out a couple more, and and there's going to be some crossover into the country music award world with a couple friends of mine, and it should just be a fun, good time. But we all come together in Huntsville, Alabama. We have a good fishing get together. We have a big, family style potluck buffet dinner together. We all break bread and socialize. We all hang out with each other. We make it a big social experiment. And then on the Sunday after that, everybody that competed throughout the whole year is involved, invited to come down for the meet and greet, for the seminar series, to where we share things. And one of them will be a full-blown series for me on advanced sponsorship opportunities. I'll take you from not knowing how to even talk to a sponsor to you could leave there with templates that you can plug your name and numbers into and send it to a company, and it will result in a sponsorship. Gene's going to talk about how to build a personal brand. Darren's going to talk to you about how to set up the perfect lighting and backdrop for your podcast so that you look really good. And the other guy looks like a goober sitting in a camper with American flag hanging on a window and a light over his head. So we're going to bring our unique skill sets to the table to have that Sunday seminar series as part of what we call Fish Camp. And the camp is an acronym. It stands for the Camaraderie and Mentoring Program. But at the same time, we build a cadre of folks that are really interested in changing and saving lives through fishing in the outdoors. So it's going to be fun. There's going to be some money won. There's going to be some prizes getting slung out every month. But I want people to remember that the base concept is we want to unite the bass fishing, and outdoors community back towards a common goal of enjoying our time in the outdoors, our time with each other, and get away from all this divisive crap that the world has decided that we need to care more about than we care about ourselves, our families, our friends, that get us triggered and get us fired up, and just come together and be, we're not red, we're not blue, we're just green, I guess, for bass, right? And for fishing. And you walk away from that event fired up about the next year, right? And then we snowball that, and each year it gets better and better, and I'd love to turn this thing into the Sturgis of kayak fishing, or the right. Woodstock minus the hippies, right, of kayak fishing, and fishing in general. So, I mean, that's kind of the general consensus overview. We'll be producing more and more details. We have a knucklehead bass fishing page being built. I've got a series of videos I'm working on how to enter a fish, how to register, how to do all these little things on Fishing Chaos that are like second nature for me. But that way, if it's all new to you, it's real simple and step by step. You don't have to read anything almost. You can just watch little videos on how to do it.
Yeah, I got a comment. Cool. I'm sorry. I think I would help Wendell beat Hoover. Oh, I like that, Scott, my man. You got a really good chance of winning because right now I have one person signed up my team. Now, granted, I'm launching it officially today. So let me know if you were you were going to go on Team Hoover, but now after coming on the show, you're like, oh yeah, definitely Team Wendell because I want to embarrass. I'm just trying to figure out, are the trophies 1 foot tall? Because I'm not. This is all the real estate I got right now, Chad. Can you put that together for me? 1 foot by 1 foot.
Again, the participation trophy should fit right there on your shelf really nicely. But the Hero Cup, or the substantial trophy, is going to be, it won't even fit in this camper here. I'm going to have it down at the KBF headquarters in my new podcast room that I'm building down there, that I will get your advice on how to set up my lighting and everything. But yeah, so basically what's going to happen is I'm going to get this trophy built by Catch. I'm going to get them to send it down, and I might as well just bolt it to the floor. Cause you know what I mean? It ain't going anywhere. Not only do you got to beat me and 4 of the baddest knuckleheads in the game, but you got to come do it on my own turf. You got to come. I do have home field advantage. I'm not going to lie.
That's what's going to be so painful. That's the problem. That's what's going to be so emotionally painful for you in that moment. It's because it was your home lake, and you know all the spots.
Here's the other thing.
I'm coming in from the Caribbean of the Midwest, and it's just going to be embarrassing.
The flip side of it is, being on your own turf and having the home field advantage, you pretty much anything but a win sucks. You know what I'm saying? So,
it's going to, yes.
That's why I've got to psych myself up. And the knuckleheads out there that want to fish on Team Chad, I mean, we got to bring it, dude. We got to have some Alabama Hammers coming down here.
I got trouble already brewing in the comments over here.
Is that a rapper?
You don't know who Jay McSee is,
McSee?
but
McKee.
you were going to know it because he's going to be posting up one of those 5. All right, we got some questions.
All right, let's do it.
Sorry. Ridiculous. All right. Everything I hope this would be is happening right now. So this is perfect. Discount for all 4 challenges.
Yes, I did that for mine, and I'm leaving it up to the other influencers if they want to do that. But for mine, there's a Chad all 4 where it's $5 off. So it's $55 for 4 instead of paying $15 for each. There's 2 ways to look at that. You're basically saying you're not confident you're going to win the first one, so you want to get in on all 4, or you're saying I want to contribute to the cause. $55 is worth it. Even if I win the first one, I'm going to keep competing to see how well I can do so that I'm in the best possible fishing condition by the time I represent my team to go down there. And so, yes, there will be an all 4 ticket for each, influencer that wants to do that. So, Darren, if you want to do that, just let me know. I'll even go set it up tonight when we hang up. We'll drop that price $5. So if you enter all 4, you get a $5 discount. And just realize, like, if you win the first month, you can't come back and be like, hey, man, I won the first month, man. Is there any way I can get that, $35 back? The answer to that is going to be no, but you can come down and take a shot at winning your share of $10,000 if you can take Team Wendell to the promised land.
Yeah. I got it. Okay, second question. Could you potentially sign up for multiple teams?
Yeah, I think that's another thing that was not something I thought of initially, but it's been asked to me so many times now. It's almost like, yeah, what you could if you're a fan of 3 or 4 different YouTubers or influencers, sign up for multiple challenges, and then you can like increase your chances of winning. Because one of the things that I'm doing specifically for my challenge is I'm drawing from everybody that enters a 5-fish limit over the course of the 4 months. I'm drawing right off the top. I'm drawing for at least 2 fishing kayaks and a couple of other, prize packages from Fish USA. So I've got almost $4,000 in prizes earmarked for my challenge right now. So, like, let's say you don't even want to fish on Team Chad, but you really want to fish on Team Wendell. I mean, you could literally double your chances, but now you're basically entering for a chance to win the prizes that are drawn from everybody that enters the 5 fish. And in theory, not in theory, in practicality, you can enter the fish you catch in both. You can enter the same fish in the Team Wendell challenge as you do in the Team Chad challenge. You might end up being the best person that month fishing in Team Wendell and finish 57 on the Team Chad because there's like more stiff competition over there, or vice versa. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, you can actually enter as many as you want. You can enter all of them if you really want to.
So let's strategy this out a little bit. So Chad, 26 million views, 120 whatever 1,000 subscribers. Darren, 13.7. So by the odds, if you want on a team and your best chance of winning, technically, my team's the best team to be on.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah. Yeah.
If you want to win and go down to the boondoggle, right now, I'm it. I have the least influence or whatever people listening to me. You have more people listening to me than I do. So there you go, folks. You heard it here first. You want to win, go down to the party. Just go ahead and bounce on Chad's team. Come over to mine. You don't have to know me. I'll welcome you with open arms. Open arms.
And I got to say this too. Wendell Fishing's team is also batting cleanup because he's living in that Caribbean of the Midwest. What did you call it again?
Caribbean of the Midwest.
It's the same. Caribbean, apple, tomato. It's the same thing.
Right.
So he's also batting cleanup, which means if you strike out on all the other challenges and he could be your last resort, you can dogpile on his event at the end.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like that last chance to get in. And it wasn't designed that way as like any type of like insult or anything. It was just like, hey man, I got frozen water until, May. Let's do mine as late as possible. And so that's what we did. But you can sign up now. You don't have to sign up in, the waning hours before the challenge kicks off. Now, the one thing that we're going to do with this different than what we do with, say, the KBF State Challenge is entry in this thing is going to be open all the time. So, like, if you go out and you get on a hot bite and you're catching fish, and you're like, dang, I really wish I would have entered. You can go enter. Now, the fish you caught before that won't count because you'll have to have the identifier and the timestamp. So, we've got technology that'll keep you from doing that. But in the middle of the month, if you're like, oh man, I think I got a shot at this, you can jump in, you can pay your entry fee, you can go out there, you can catch your 5 fish, and if it moves you to the top of the leaderboard, you can take home that qualifying seat. Now, last but not least, here's another little wild card we're throwing in there. And this was actually an idea of one of the competitors who heard my first podcast about it. So let's be real, Chad. You got 120,000 subscribers. Gene's got 400. Wendell's got 13, 14, 15. So-and-so's got this many. You're like, whatever. There's really slim odds of us getting in based on just the sheer number of people that could potentially sign up. I'm like, yeah, maybe, but there's also going to be some people that are intimidated. It's not going to be as big a numbers as you think. But here's what else we're going to do. In addition to drawing prizes from everybody that enters and just simply enters a 5 fish limit, what that's doing is just telling us that you know how to use the rules, you know how to use the ruler, you know how to position the fish, you know how to avoid the mistakes, so that if you did come down and enter the competition, you don't make a stupid mistake that costs you or your team a bunch of money. But from everybody that enters a 5 fish limit, we're going to have a last chance event the Friday before Veterans Day weekend. Everybody that entered any of our team challenges throughout the year that caught a 5 fish limit is going to be eligible for the fan fish off. And that's going to be on Friday. And the fan fish off is going to be the top 5 anglers in the fan fish off form a new team. And that team then moves in to the team fish off as we'll come up with some clever name for them, or they can name themselves after they win. But those 5 anglers are competing for the prize purse, split 5 ways amongst themselves, and bragging rights that they came in, won their way into the challenge, and beat all the influencers in their teams. Now, it is a wild card. It is a long shot, but it's a shot. You know what I'm saying? And it's also pretty cool, in my opinion, that we're going to have that last kind of wild card angle to it, because come for the weekend, if you don't make it into the event, hang out for prizes, giveaways, raffles, the fellowship, the fun, the redneckery, meet everybody, and then, the seminars on Sunday. And we're going to feed everybody. We're going to turn this thing into like a festival, party style atmosphere. So yeah, you can fish your way in a bunch of different ways.
Boondoggle. That's it. You said
yeah,
it. It's a giant boondoggle. That's what I'm most excited about, to be honest with you.
We're calling it Fish Camp, which stands for Camaraderie and Mentoring Program. And we're going to develop that program this year, furthering it, and every year get better and better to where we can truly ultimately start bringing in some kids and veterans that throughout the weekend we can be running classes and clinics and things that help them become a better and more proficient anglers. So I'd love to have Fish Camp turn into a whole week, at some point.
Oh, sorry. Did that come up here? I accidentally clicked that. My bad. I'm going to go back here. What are some other? Here it is. I'm with you, Wendell. Enjoy being an underdog, my man. What else we got here? Backwater. Open arms. Chad, I hope he's one of the people who comments on your videos all the time. So I hope that hurt a little bit. All right. So we are coming up to the end of time. We are over time, but this is so good. Chad, thank you so much for giving us the masterclass of sponsorships. That is something, one, I'm personally interested in, but I know it's going to help a lot of people because we can spin our wheels, burning bridges, and not even know we're doing it. So if you if you're coming in late to this, please, if we talk for a good 50 minutes on sponsorships, and if you haven't done it yet, please help me out. Hit that like button to help me get some replay action on YouTube. The algorithm likes to eat that a little bit. So, but I got the lightning round for you, Chad. We're gonna finish off with this. If you have a question for Chad at the end of the lightning round, I usually will answer those. But really quick, before we hop into that, you got to be a KBF member. So to be a part of all this,
you can be a free member.
Yeah,
and the main reason for that is that way I can send you some free decals. But more importantly, when you win something, we don't have to do these live streams where we're calling your name out and we don't have your information. If you sign up as a free member, we've got your information, helps us with everybody's name so we can cover this from an insurance standpoint. And it gets you into the drawings to where, again, we have your contact information. When you win, we don't have to run you down because, again, you've signed up as a member. And it also gives you a lot of benefits by being a KBF member. So obviously, I'm going to want you to, potentially step up to ambassador and premium. At the ambassador level for $25, you get back $65 in gift certificates. I've got 3 companies that are about to come on board to take that to 85.
What?
So it's all 4-to-1 value. I'm going to keep working on making that better and better. And at the premium level, you're qualified for our championships, our trail series, our bigger events. And so it also helps us cover our overhead and operating cost. And, I got to get about 2,000 of you knuckleheads to sign up at the premium level and about 3,500 at the ambassador level just to break even on the $10,000 that I've already put up. And again, that's not something that I'm getting from a sponsor, at least not yet. I didn't want to be tied down and have a sponsor that now, well, Wendell can't do it because it's a conflict with his one sponsor. And then so-and-so couldn't do it because it's a conflict with that sponsor. So I really want to try to keep this thing unsponsored and really let it be sponsored by the city or the location where we're going, so that ultimately we can take this thing, do the first year, maybe 2, here in Alabama because it's logistically easier. Got 2 great fisheries that converge on one great venue that I already have access to. The winning team, I'm going to take fishing at a private lake that Sunday, and we're going to absolutely crush some monsters and some personal bests. And so I can't do that anywhere else. But down the road, I'd love to take this thing and move it around where we have the Knucklehead Bass Fishing Series, in the Midwest one year, we have it in the Northeast one year, we have it in the West one year. Just kind of start to move it around so it's not just everybody coming to me, but at least initially having that big name, Lake Gunnersville. And I think Wheeler's as good as Gunnersville, if not better in some circumstances in some places. And it stacks up really nicely as a kayak fishing lake because of, like your buddy who just chimed in, backwater kayak fishing. It's got a ton of my favorite type of fishing, a lot of backwater. And so we're uniquely positioned to have 2 great fisheries that kind of converge in the middle. The Tennessee River is about 200 yards behind me, and it is the connector between Gunnersville and Wheeler. Technically, once you pass the Gunnersville Dam, that is Lake Wheeler, but it's really more the Tennessee River until it widens back open into Lake Wheeler. And so great fishing, great opportunity, great fun, and just for a lot of great causes. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I'm excited.
Look, Jeff, well, he wants to map it for you. This guy loves maps, man. He'll map
Nice.
that whole area for you. So,
I do need to talk to U.S. River Maps because that's actually something we're working on. So offline, connect me with those guys because I've been working on a project and looking for somebody who fits that category. So this is another thing in the whole sponsorship thing. Network with your friends and provide opportunities, and those cross connections help both sides. So
yeah. Well, Jeff is the owner, so there he is.
Well, Jeff,
That's the
hit
man.
me
So
up,
I'll
bro.
connect you guys. I'll connect you guys tomorrow. So that'll be awesome. Chad didn't ask me to do this, guys, but I'm looking at kayakbassfishing.com. If you're not a KBF member, I promise you, he didn't ask me to do this. If you're thinking I need to spend $25 to get some type of lure or whatnot, you might as well become a KBF member because you get a free $25 Fish USA one-time discount. And so plus a bunch of other stuff, Yak Attack, Yak Rods, the list goes on and on. Go check it out. I'm a premium member myself, so I'm not going to tell you something I'm not doing myself. So I just love to support. Be honest, I'll tell everyone I've never fished a tournament in my entire life, and I'm a premium member because I want to support what Chad's doing. I love the community. I love the community and the value it brings to my life. So, Chad, thank you for doing that. All right, coming back on time. Got some. I call it the lightning round. We got 5 questions. This might be a little difficult. Now, usually goes off the rails. 1-word answers. 1-sentence answers, 30 seconds answers. We'll kind of run with that. All right. You ready for them?
Yeah.
Number 1, favorite part of being a content creator?
Changing lives.
Right on. Worst part?
Never being off. you're always under the gun. You just no time off. You know.
All right, all right. Favorite types of content to make?
River fishing videos.
Okay, okay. You and John are gonna be buddies then. All right. Then we got top 5 kayak fishing YouTube channels in your opinion.
Oh man, good lord! I'm gonna get Fluke Master obviously is a big one because he's almost exclusively kayak fishing now.
All right.
I love Greg Blanchard,
Yep.
John from Creek Fishing, Robert Field, really good
Yep.
channel. I've known Robert since before he had a channel. I'm gonna get beat up. Wendell Fishing, obviously, I don't know if you guys have heard of him.
Oh, yeah.
That's great, guys. Unbiased reviews, unsponsored content. Man, I'm
You
gonna
like that title? You like that title?
I'm gonna
Bet
forget somebody who is going to
Oh,
crucify me.
you're probably getting murdered in the comment section right now.
Yeah. So anyway, that's the 5 that like come to the top of my mind, but it's also biased by what channels I watched last. So there's that recency bias. So
Yeah.
sorry about that, guys. If I love
Chad
your
Love,
channel.
I only gave him 5. You could probably go on for the next hour
Oh, yeah.
listing them all off. All right. It's non-fishing YouTube channels. Is there one that you binge on?
Man, I like the guy Pew View. He's a gun channel.
Okay.
22 Plinkster is a really good friend of mine, but I genuinely love his content. And then I love this channel. It's a Jeep channel, Overland channel, camping channel. A guy named Drew Summit. Love his content. And then there's a YouTube channel for overlanding called Trail Recon. I watch entirely too much trail recon content. Overlanding, full driving, boondocking, whatever you want to call it, is one of my favorite things to do because it really is what got me through the struggles with PTSD and the things that I went through way after I got out of the military, a lot further away than most people do, because it's genuinely a way to get out there and just disconnect. And so because I don't really get to disconnect and I constantly feel like I'm under the gun, I can go out and set my tent up and set up my campsite and cook on my tailgate and set in my really nice Yeti chair that everybody says must be nice every time I post a picture of it, and it really is. But when you sit in that thing and you edit for hours on end, and you basically find yourself in a chair next to a river or next to a beautiful lake or something, kind of falling asleep in your chair, and then you crawl in your rooftop tent, and then you wake up like in it. That's me. And so I love watching that type of content because as a fisherman, I consider myself something of an expert. So a lot of times I kind of half watch fishing content. Just being honest, it sounds pretentious or conceited or whatever you want to call it. But when you know something really well, you're less inclined to fully, invest your interest and your time and your energy. So like when I'm watching videos for like Trail Recon and and some of those channels like that and like Drew Summit, I don't know that stuff as well as I want to. So I'm like soaking up every little nugget that they're dropping and taking that and adding it to what I do to make my lifestyle, better because they provide that content that yeah. So those are probably the 3 or 4 that I like the most. I like Wrangler Star, who's the guy that's like the old forestry guy, that's a homesteader, self-reliance guy.
Okay.
But I've liked him less over the last 3 or 4 years for whatever reason. I don't know why, but I've just gotten into those overland channels, and I really love them because
Yeah.
I'm intrigued by being able to hook up, go somewhere, and every time I go, try to stay like longer, being able to depend on myself with my batteries, my water, my food, my prep, work. And I'm not like talking doomsday prepper or any of that other stuff, but I was a land survival expert in the Navy because I was a rescue swimmer. and I did combat search and rescue, but this is like a weird, different thing. You know, I see these 24-hour challenges on YouTube all the time. 24-hour survival challenge. I'm like, 24-hour survival challenge. Go sit outside in a chair. All you got to do in 24 hours to survive is not get hit by a car. You're not gonna dehydrate. You're not gonna starve to death. You're not gonna suffocate. Like, what the hell is a 24-hour survival challenge? And I see like 100 YouTube channels.
Millions of views. Yeah.
I literally want to go do a 24-hour YouTube challenge where I'm like, hey guys, today I'm going to do a 24-hour YouTube challenge. I got a magazine, a book, and a chair. And then I just do a time lapse of me sitting there for 24 hours. But I do want to start doing some like 5 and 7 and 10 and 14 day, you know, like wilderness survival deals, because that's a completely different creature.
All right.
Like 24 hours. Come on, I could freaking just lay down on the ground for 24 hours and nothing would happen. And you would survive.
I'm kind of a default prepper. This is not something anybody knows. This is the first time I ever talked about it anywhere, really. My father-in-law passed a couple of years ago, and he was quite the prepper, and I kind of inherited all of that stuff. So, Chad, we got to talk sometime. That'd be kind of fun. But guys, I'm going to shut it down. We're going to have to bring Chad back because I've had a blast with him. Hopefully I can tell by all the comments. It's been a ton of fun. There's one thing we didn't talk about the knucklehead. You're going to be sick of me talking about this, everybody who's listening in, because I am super pumped about it. Is if you want to sign up, go over to fishingchaos.com and then type in find tournament knucklehead, start typing in, it'll pop up. And then you can see all the teams. You can sign up for Team Wendell May. Mine starts in May, June, July, and August, and everyone else is going to start at different times, maybe at the same time. I think John at Creek Fishing Adventure is starting at around the same time I am. But that's where you can go do that.
Set up the Team Wendell all 4 tonight. So if somebody just wants to buy the all 4, they can buy it and fish all 4 months.
And there you go. And if you're listening to this on a replay, that stuff will be down in the description. Guys, thanks for watching. Chad, thanks for your time. I really appreciate it. I'll see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel.